All right, so welcome to another deep dive, and today we're doing something kind of different. Yeah, we're headed to Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay.
But we're starting with some sources you might not expect. We've got some stuff from FlightNHotels.com.
Like a travel booking site?
Exactly, and then like a piece about Lagos tourism.
Interesting combo.
Yeah, you wouldn't think a travel booking site would be like a source of, fascinating knowledge, but
Right.
trust me, you're in for a treat by the end of this. You'll know why Lagos is so special.
Okay.
And you might even get some practical tips if you ever decide to go.
Sounds good.
So what's so intriguing about Lagos?
Well, it's not just the largest city in Nigeria.
Okay.
It's also a city built on both the mainland and islands,
Oh, wow.
each with like a completely different vibe.
Okay, so it's not just urban sprawl.
Not at all. You could be exploring bustling markets on the mainland one minute
Wow.
and relaxing on like a serene beach the next.
Oh, I like that.
It's that blend of urban energy and island tranquility that makes Lagos such a draw.
That does sound really cool. So where do we even begin exploring this city of contrasts?
Well, our sources pointed to some top attractions.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm already hooked.
Oh, yeah.
The Lekki Conservation Centre, for example, they've got the longest canopy walkway in Africa.
You're not kidding. That's not just a stroll in the park. You're actually walking above the trees.
That's amazing.
Huh?
What kind of wildlife would you even see up there?
Well, the center is actually actively involved in protecting the endangered Mona monkey,
Oh, wow.
which is native to that area.
Okay.
You might even get a glimpse of one while you're up there.
Wow, that's way more interesting than just knowing it's a long walkway. See, I told you we'd uncover some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Now, for the art lover in me, there's the Nike Art Gallery, which is apparently one of the largest in all of Nigeria.
It's massive.
What makes this gallery special, though?
It's not just the size, it's the scope. The Nike Art Gallery showcases both traditional and contemporary Nigerian art.
Oh, cool.
So you get a real sense of the country's artistic heritage. It's like a cultural deep dive within our Lagos deep dive.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, this next one is intriguing. Tarkwa Bay Beach.
What about it?
It's only accessible by boat Talkabouta, a hidden gem.
Oh, wow.
What's the draw there?
Imagine stepping off a boat and onto a beach that feels worlds away from the city's buzz. Soft sands, clear waters, and a sense of tranquility you wouldn't expect to find so close to a bustling metropolis.
That does sound idyllic, but practically speaking, how do you even arrange a boat trip there? Is that where a site like FlightNHotels.com comes in handy?
It certainly could. It's not just about booking flights and hotels.
Right.
These platforms often offer information on local tours and activities,
Okay.
which could include transportation to places like Tarkwa Bay.
Right. So let's talk about FlightNHotels.com specifically.
Sure.
I'm picturing myself planning a trip to Lagos,
Okay.
and this site seems incredibly user-friendly. You can compare flights, find hotel deals, and even get discounts.
And that's a key feature of these platforms.
What is it?
Making travel planning accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
You don't need a travel agent anymore.
Oh, that's nice.
It's all right there at your fingertips.
There's even this cool feature called Add to Screen,
Oh, yeah.
which lets you basically have the app without actually taking up any storage space.
I know, right?
That's pretty neat. How does that even work?
It uses something called progressive web app technology,
Okay.
which essentially means it runs through your web browser,
Uh-huh.
but still offers the functionality of a native app.
Oh, interesting.
It's a great example of how technology is making travel planning more seamless.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, so you've booked your flights,
Yep.
found a hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and you're ready to hit the streets of Lagos.
Right.
But what about getting around? Our source mentioned that transportation can be a bit tricky.
Oh, yeah. Traffic in Lagos can be quite heavy,
Really?
especially during peak hours. So it's important to plan accordingly. You've got options like taxis and public buses,
Oh, okay.
but ride-hailing apps are also popular.
So factor in extra time, especially if you're on a tight schedule.
Exactly. And it's wise to be mindful of safety as you would in any major city.
Right.
Be aware of your surroundings, avoid flashing expensive items, and stick to well-lit areas, especially at night.
Good advice. Now, a quick practical question. What's the currency situation in Lagos?
The local currency is the Nigerian naira,
Okay.
And while credit cards are becoming more widely accepted,
Right.
it's still a good idea to have some cash on hand.
Okay.
Especially for smaller purchases.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're venturing into more local markets.
Speaking of markets, I'm already getting hungry thinking about all the amazing food Lagos has to offer.
Oh yeah, the food scene is incredible.
The source mentioned jollof rice and suya.
2 classics.
Fill us in. What are these?
Okay, so jollof rice is a classic West African dish.
Okay.
Think flavorful rice cooked in a tomato-based broth,
Mm-hmm.
often served with meat or fish.
That sounds good.
It's a staple you'll find everywhere. Then you have suya, which is more of a street food.
Right.
Spiced grilled meat.
Oh, nice.
Usually beef, chicken, or ram.
Okay, my mouth is watering. I'm already picturing myself in a bustling Lagos market trying all those delicious dishes.
That's the beauty of exploring a new place, isn't it?
It is.
The sights, the sounds, the flavors, it all comes together to create an immersive experience.
You've definitely painted a vivid picture. So far, we've gone from a travel booking website to a virtual tour of Lagos.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Touching on everything from practical tips to tantalizing cuisine.
It's amazing how much you can learn.
It's amazing how a simple deep dive can transport us to a whole new world.
It really shows that knowledge and inspiration can be found in the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. But before we move on, remember that question about how Lagos balances its modern growth with its traditional roots?
Yes.
Well, it turns out that's not just a Lagos thing. It's something cities around the world are grappling with.
It's a common challenge.
And Lagos has some pretty fascinating approaches to preserving its heritage.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one of the most striking examples is Freedom Park,
Okay.
a historical site that has a pretty remarkable backstory.
Oh. Tell me more.
Well, Freedom Park used to be a colonial-era prison,
What?
but it's been transformed into a vibrant cultural hub.
A prison turned cultural center. That's an interesting juxtaposition.
It is, and it speaks to the way Lagos is reclaiming its past. Today, Freedom Park hosts art exhibitions, live music, festivals.
Wow.
It's a place where people can come together to celebrate their heritage and express themselves freely.
That's powerful. It's almost like turning a symbol of oppression into a beacon of freedom.
Exactly. What other ways is Lagos preserving its heritage?
Well, there are museums scattered all throughout the city,
Oh, yeah.
dedicated to showcasing Nigerian history, art, and traditions.
Of course, the National Museum Lagos, for example,
Wow.
houses a treasure trove of artifacts spanning centuries.
What kind of artifacts?
You'll find ancient sculpture,
Wow.
traditional masks,
Uh-huh.
relics from the Benin Empire.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating journey through Nigeria's past.
It sounds like a must-visit for history buffs. But what about the living aspects of culture? The music, the dance, the storytelling.
Right.
Are those traditions being preserved as well?
Absolutely. Music, dance, and storytelling are deeply ingrained in Nigerian culture.
Okay.
And Lagos is a vibrant hub for these traditions.
I can imagine.
You'll hear traditional music everywhere, from street corners to concert halls.
Wow.
And there are countless opportunities to witness vibrant dances
Uh-huh.
and captivating storytelling performances.
It's amazing to think about how these traditions have endured and evolved over time while still retaining their essence. It speaks to the resilience of the culture.
It really does. Speaking of vibrancy, we can't talk about Lagos without mentioning its legendary nightlife.
The nightlife. I've heard stories.
Lagos After Dark is a world of its own.
Oh, I bet.
The energy is electric, the music is pulsating, and the social scene is buzzing.
It sounds like a sensory overload in the best possible way.
Yeah.
What are some of the nightlife hotspots people should check out?
Well, if you're looking for a high-energy club experience, places like Quillox and Club 57 are renowned for their world-class DJs,
Nice.
live music, and stylish crowds. And then there's Hard Rock Cafe,
Oh, yeah.
a global favorite,
Of course.
which always draws a lively crowd.
So whether you're a hardcore clubber or just looking for a fun night out with live music, Lagos has something for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the countless bars and lounges scattered throughout the city,
Right.
each with its unique atmosphere and offerings.
It sounds like a lot to explore.
You could spend weeks exploring the nightlife scene and barely scratch the surface.
It makes me wish we were experiencing it firsthand instead of just talking about it.
Me too.
But hey, maybe this deep dive will inspire some of our listeners to book their own Lagos adventure.
I have a feeling it might. Lagos is the kind of city that stays with you long after you've left. It's a feast for the senses and a truly unforgettable experience.
You've sold me on it. Now I want to circle back to that question about balancing progress with heritage preservation.
Yeah.
We touched on some of the ways Lagos is actively preserving its history and traditions, but this is a challenge for cities all around the world, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
As technology advances, economies grow, and populations shift. Cities are constantly evolving. The key is to find a way to embrace the future while still honoring the past.
So how do you strike that balance? What are some of the essential ingredients?
Well, first and foremost, there needs to be recognition that heritage, both tangible and intangible, is valuable.
Okay.
This means preserving historical landmarks, supporting traditional arts and crafts, and fostering a sense of community pride in the city's unique identity.
It's about understanding that the past isn't something to be discarded, but rather something to be woven into the fabric of the present.
Precisely. And it also involves actively engaging the local community.
Oh, interesting.
They're the custodians of the city's heritage.
Okay.
And their voices and perspectives are crucial.
It sounds like a collaborative effort. City planners, developers, cultural institutions, and most importantly, the people who call the city home.
Exactly.
All working together.
It's about creating a city that's both rooted in its history and open to the future.
It's a delicate dance, but one that's essential for any city that wants to thrive and retain its soul.
Absolutely.
It's like building a bridge between the past and the future, making sure that the city's heritage isn't lost amidst the progress.
A great way to put it. It's about creating a city that honors its roots while still embracing innovation and growth.
You know, after this deep dive, I'm seriously feeling the urge to book a flight to Lagos.
Really?
Exploring those bustling markets, trying the jollof rice and suya.
Sounds amazing.
It all sounds incredible.
I wouldn't be surprised if our listeners are feeling the same way. Maybe they're already on FlightNHotels.com planning their own Lagos adventure.
I bet they are. We've covered so much ground today.
We have.
From practical travel tips to the city's rich history, diverse culture.
It's a fascinating city.
And electrifying nightlife. It's amazing how much we've learned from just a few sources.
It's a testament to the power of curiosity, isn't it?
It is.
A simple deep dive can open up an entire world of knowledge and inspiration.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up our Lagos exploration, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
We've talked about the duality of Lagos.
Yes.
The blend of modern and traditional, the balance between progress and preservation.
Right.
But it makes me wonder what truly makes a city great.
That is a good question.
Is it towering skyscrapers and bustling streets, or is it something deeper, something more intangible?
It's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
Is it the spirit of the people, their resilience, their creativity, their sense of community that truly defines a city's greatness?
I think you're onto something. Maybe a city's true measure lies not in its physical attributes, but in the heart and soul of its people.
It's food for thought as our listeners continue their own explorations wherever they may lead.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into Lagos. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
See you next time. It is, and it speaks to the way Lagos is reclaiming its past. Today, Freedom Park hosts art exhibitions, live music festivals.
Wow.
It's a place where people can come together to celebrate their heritage and express themselves freely.
That's powerful. It's almost like turning a symbol of oppression into a beacon of freedom.
Yeah.
What other ways is Lagos preserving its heritage?
Well, there are museums scattered all throughout the city.
Oh, yeah?
Dedicated to showcasing Nigerian history, art, and traditions. The National Museum Lagos, for example, houses a treasure trove of artifacts spanning centuries.
What kind of artifacts?
You'll find ancient sculptures, traditional masks, relics from the Benin Empire. It's a fascinating journey through Nigeria's past.
It sounds like a must-visit for history buffs. But what about the living aspects of culture? The music, the dance, the storytelling.
Right.
Are those traditions being preserved as well?
Absolutely. Music, dance, and storytelling are deeply ingrained in Nigerian culture.
Okay.
And Lagos is a vibrant hub for these traditions.
I can imagine.
You'll hear traditional music everywhere, from street corners to concert halls.
Wow.
And there are countless opportunities to witness vibrant dances and captivating storytelling performances.
It's amazing to think about how these traditions have endured and evolved over time while still retaining their essence. It speaks to the resilience of the culture.
It really does. Speaking of vibrancy, We can't talk about Lagos without mentioning its legendary nightlife.
The nightlife, I've heard stories.
Lagos After Dark is a world of its own.
Oh, I bet.
The energy is electric, the music is pulsating, and the social scene is buzzing.
It sounds like a sensory overload in the best possible way. What are some of the nightlife hotspots people should check out?
Well, if you're looking for a high-energy club experience,
Okay.
places like Quillox and Club 57 are renowned for their world-class DJs,
Nice.
live music, and stylish crowds. And then there's Hard Rock Cafe,
Oh, yeah.
a global favorite,
Of course.
which always draws a lively crowd.
So whether you're a hardcore clubber or just looking for a fun night out with live music, Lagos has something for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the countless bars and lounges scattered throughout the city,
You're right.
each with its unique atmosphere and offerings.
It sounds like a lot to explore.
You could spend weeks exploring the nightlife scene and barely scratch the surface.
It makes me wish we were experiencing it firsthand instead of just talking about it.
We do.
But hey, maybe this deep dive will inspire some of our listeners to book their own Lagos adventure.
I have a feeling it might. Lagos is the kind of city that stays with you long after you've left. It's a feast for the senses and a truly unforgettable experience.
You've sold me on it. Now, I want to circle back to that question about balancing progress with heritage preservation.
Yeah.
We touched on some of the ways Lagos is actively preserving its history and traditions, but this is a challenge for cities all around the world, isn't it?
It is. As technology advances, economies grow, and populations shift.
Yes.
Cities are constantly evolving. The key is to find a way to embrace the future while still honoring the past.
So how do you strike that balance? What are some of the essential ingredients?
Well, first and foremost, there needs to be a recognition that heritage, both tangible and intangible, is valuable.
Okay.
This means preserving historical landmarks, supporting traditional arts and crafts, and fostering a sense of community pride in the city's unique identity.
It's about understanding that the past isn't something to be discarded,
Right.
but rather something to be woven into the fabric of the present.
Precisely. And it also involves actively engaging the local community.
Oh, interesting.
They're the custodians of the city's heritage.
Okay.
And their voices and perspectives are crucial.
It sounds like a collaborative effort.
Yes.
City planners, developers, cultural institutions, and most importantly, the people who call the city home.
Exactly.
All working together.
It's about creating a city that's both rooted in its history and open to the future.
It's a delicate dance, but one that's essential for any city that wants to thrive and retain its soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is. Like, you're creating this connection between the past and the future, making sure that the city's heritage isn't forgotten, you know, amidst all the progress and stuff.
Exactly. You want to honor the roots, but still, keep moving forward with innovation and growth.
You know what? After this deep dive, I am seriously feeling the urge to book a flight to Lagos.
Oh, yeah.
Exploring those markets like we talked about. Trying the jollof rice and the suya.
Oh, man.
It all sounds incredible.
I wouldn't be surprised if our listeners are feeling the same way.
Right.
Maybe they're already on FlightNHotels.com.
I bet they are.
Planning their own Lagos adventure.
Yeah, we've covered so much ground today.
I know, right?
From those practical travel tips to the city's history,
the culture,
the food, the nightlife. It's amazing how much we learned from just a couple sources.
It really shows you how powerful curiosity can be.
Yeah.
A simple deep dive can open up a whole world of knowledge and inspiration.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up our Lagos exploration, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
All right.
We've talked about that duality of Lagos.
Yeah.
The blend of modern and traditional, the balance between progress and preservation.
Right.
But it makes me wonder what truly makes a city great.
That's a big question.
Is it towering skyscrapers and bustling streets? Or is it something deeper? Something more intangible?
It's a question worth thinking about.
Yeah.
Is it the spirit of the people? Their resilience, their creativity, their sense of community.
Yeah.
That truly defines a city's greatness.
I think you're onto something. Maybe a city's true measure lies not in its physical attributes, but in the heart and soul of its people.
I like that. It's something to think about as our listeners continue their own explorations wherever they may lead.
Well said, and on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into Lagos. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.